Signore e signori, buonasera e benvenuti a Tutti a Casa. The broadcast brought to you by New York University, Casa Italiana, zerilli-marimò. We started about a couple of months ago, and we have talked about just about everything from food to literature to history to health issues and more. Today we have a very special program for many, many reasons. As you see in the background, I am virtually at Villa La Pietra in Florence. That is the beautiful Italian home of New York University. It's still now the biggest present ever received by an American university. Unfortunately, I'm not really there, but that's where I was supposed to be. And with me, my colleague, Alfa Aguado, who is joining us from Barcelona, Spain, and virtually is also in Florence. And the two students that are taking right now the virtual course on Florence in literature and cinema, Suraya Ali and Mike Parola. Suraya will join us from Washington, D.C., and Mike Parola from Scranton, Pennsylvania. Is that right, Mike? Yes. And our guest of honor. Our guest of honor is Dr. Stefania Ippoliti. Dr. Ippoliti was kind enough to join my real class. Actually, we went to visit her last summer with my class. In her two roles, we wanted to talk to her because she's the key person when you talk about Florence and cinema. She is the director of the Mediateca Toscana. That is a wonderful multimedia library in an historical building very close to the University of Florence. And she's also the director of the Tuscan Film Commission. That is the go-to place, the clearinghouse for anybody wanting to shoot films or TV series in Florence and the rest of Tuscany. That, as you know, is one of the most coveted context for films, TV series, commercials, and whatnot. And providing support to cut through the lot of bureaucratic red tape that Italy still has is one of the things that Stefania Ippoliti and her staff do, but they do much more than that. And we are going to ask her exactly what they do. But let's start with the Mediateca. Stefania, first of all, thank you for being here with us, with my students, and with our listeners of Tutti a Casa. Grazie mille per essere qua con noi.
Grazie a voi. Thank you for inviting me. And I'm sorry that we are not together here in Florence as we were supposed to be. I'm the only one so far to be really in Florence. But you have a much wonderful view behind your shoulder than me. Anyway, I'm in the office. I'm in the office that we have at the first floor of our cinema theater, because we do have a cinema theater that is devoted to documentaries. And this is something that maybe we can go more inside later. Our story began years ago, was the early 1980, when Tuscan region decided to open a Mediateca. This is the only place in our region where you can find a lot of things you may need if you study cinema. And we have a lot of students from the university that they are coming, visiting our site, but also physically the Mediateca, that is in a beautiful ancient building in front of the university, the department that where are the cinema, literature, and history studies in Via San Gallo. That is a narrow street not far from the cathedral that you, Alfonso, have behind your shoulders. And so we do have there more than 10,000 titles of films, books. We do have an hemeroteca that I don't know how to translate in English, sorry.
It's a newspaper and journal library, basically.
Exactly, with magazines specialized in cinema. We have also more than a few entire complete collection of important cinema and magazine that seems to be quite valuable now. And so we do have a lot of students come visiting us. And we have now a brand new site, website that maybe if you like, you can find it at www.mediatecatoscana.it. It's really brand new. And so maybe you can find something is not still working perfectly. and you can have an idea of what is our catalog, what kind of services. We are open to everybody as long as you list yourself, then everything is for free, services and books and whatever that you can use for your studies.
Stefania, one question about the holdings of the Mediateca Toscana. It's important to know that the name is Mediateca Toscana, but it's not only about Tuscany. People can find all sort of films and documentaries in the Mediateca. So
Right.
it doesn't need to be a research specifically on Florence and Tuscany like the ones that my students will be conducting for our course, but it can be just about many more topics that
This is
are
correct.
not related. Yeah.
This is correct because we have a very wide selection of movies from all over Italy, and not only. And we do have a lot of documentaries, and we do have also, we are specialized in something that belongs to our histories. That is something that maybe you can find just in our Mediateca. Let me explain, just to make an example about mezzadria, that are typical, organization of the countryside here in Tuscany of many, many years ago. Was a way that at that time was, as I can say, very new, because the owners, they share in a certain way the property of the land with the farmers. And so we have a lot of things about this, as we about partisans in Tuscany, and dance company from Tuscany. These are peculiar things that we do have. And something that is new, and I'm so proud about this, is that we have here in Florence from 62 years. I think that is the most ancient documentary film festival that is named Festival dei Popoli. Is very famous. A lot of Florentine generation are born looking at documentaries many, many years before that we start to can watch a documentary in a cinema theaters. When they begin to show these things, no one is used to go to the theater just to watch a documentary film.
That's something very specific of the Mediateca Toscana, this attention to documentaries. And you said it's part of your history, it's part of your tradition, but you have further embraced this tradition related to documentaries. And so with the Festival dei Popoli, why don't you tell us something about what the Festival dei Popoli is, what you do together? And I think there is also something that went on specifically during the pandemic in terms of the offering that you created.
As I said, here I am in our cinema theater, where we are used to program just documentaries, mostly documentaries. And we are one of the very few cinema theaters dedicated to this genre about documentaries. As maybe I told you, speaking with you, Stefano, we have a sort of a network with a beautiful theater in Toronto. Then you know that in Toronto they do have an important festival that is hot dogs, and they have a wonderful theater. And so we have a sort of network with their theater. Our theater is here in Florence, another one in London. Then we have a brand new, fellow on these things. That is a place in Harlem in New York. That is a center that now I don't remember the name, but I'll let you know. And the new one in Moscow. So we are trying to build a network of theater where you can find a wonderful selection of documentaries filmed.
So it's Moscow, Harlem, New York, Toronto, Florence, and London. So
Exactly.
It's 5. And these are basically, it's a network of movie theaters devoted to showing documentaries.
Yeah, and the name of our network is Docs Exchange. and we share our experience, we share information about titles of interesting films, and trying also to share them. So maybe we can suggest to the other people to take a look of one of our hits, let's say, and the same do they. And so we try to find another way to distribute this kind of film that is not always so easy to find around in the market, as you can imagine.
Yes. Stefania, and what happened during the pandemic? Now that the movie theaters were closed, what did you do? Everybody went home and no.
No, it's quite sad anyway. Now we laugh because we hope that we are at the end of this terrible experience. But when everything was locked here in Italy, was the beginning of March. And so we closed all the Italian cinema theater the 8th of March. And still, we are still closed. We are still closed. We are struggling to find a way to open again in the next days. It's not so easy. Everybody is complaining about everything, as you can imagine, the COVID and whatever, but we do have problem with workers, with money, with, of course, our audience that we are trying to keep close. And what we do during this lockdown is open La Compagnia, that is the name of our theater, online. So we have a new place online that we call Più Compagnia.
It's Più Compagnia was the program you provided to make your programming available online, Stefania. And anybody can access that? Do they have to be in Tuscany? No?
There are something that is a free access and some you have to buy tickets. Our tickets are very inexpensive because we are trying to be very accessible and available for everybody. And we think that going online with our mirror theater is a chance for people just to cut short the trouble to look, to decide what I am going to watch. Maybe they trust us, and so they say, let me see what Più Compagnia is offering today.
Absolutely. And so you're even offering the possibility to talk during screenings that is not normally done when you're in the theater, but you can have a little chat and write your comments. I believe it's a great idea, and the numbers you're giving show that people are appreciating what you've been doing.
Extraordinary, of course, because usually we really have, let's say, 20 people, this kind of numbers. It's not a crowd. But anyway, it's a way to keep in touch.
Absolutely. I just wanted to ask my students, Raya, Mike, and also Alfo, if they have any question regarding the portion of your job. As we said, you have two main jobs and then many others, but as director of the media library, Mediateca Toscana, or whether we should proceed towards the Film Commission. Alfo, I see you unmuted yourself. Go ahead.
Yeah, I do have a question. I'm curious. I mean, you've been talking about this briefly, but I do worry as a film lover and a film theater lover that this new situation, this current pandemic, is going to affect independent film theaters like La Compagnia. I know that La Compagnia receives public funding, but still, I think that it's one of the most important things about movie viewing is movie going. And I worry that this crisis is going to be almost like a coup de grace to this, the way we were used to go to the movies. And I wonder if you, from the institutional standpoint, if you are worried, if are you strategizing to foment movie going once we get to a new normal?
See, we are worried about this. What we are trying to do here in Tuscan region, but also at the national level, is to give economic helps to the theaters because they need help, of course. And what we are worried about, that is not only that if we open now that we still have the to wear this kind of mask, also watching a film, we have not to sit close to another person. We can't open the little, I mean, bistro that we do have in our theater. These are a lot of things that make this experience not so attractive. And so a lot of people from that they run the cinema theaters wondering if maybe they wait to open till autumn, where we hope that would be no more necessary to have all this kind of I don't know how to say, attention, to be so conscious about stay away from other people, wear this kind of little mask and whatever. And so what we decide to do as institution is to give money, resources, economical resources to the theaters, and also to authorize the opening of a theater and open air arene. I don't know how to say arene.
Yeah.
It's outdoor cinema, and I love outdoor cinema in Florence. That's one of the highlights of my summer, because I can catch up with all the movies I missed during the year. And in Florence, I believe there are at least 5, 6. There are 2 Arene di Marte, and then many others. And some of them are in really beautiful places surrounded by
places. And this time we're going to have in a few days the opening of new places in wonderful locations. And this is a good idea because
I'm going to be in Florence for that. I'm going to come over for that because I cannot survive a summer without outdoor movies. And Stefania, you said that the Film Commission, you are contributing to create this network and to open these new spaces outside. Tell us something about it.
We are working, of course, with the city, with the mayor of the city, because it's the city that has the power to give an authorization to open a new arena, an outdoor theater. And as a region, we are trying to put some money on the table just to help this kind of people to afford the opening of new places. And so we are pretty sure that this new outdoor theater are going to be successful. And as you can imagine, the second problem is what kind of films or contents we can find on the market. Because we have a second huge question, that is all the producers and distributors, they are afraid in a certain way to find that, to select the wrong moment to release their film. Because people may be still afraid, because they are not going to have a good box office, and so they are keeping all the new films close in their drawer. And this is a huge problem, as you can imagine, because what they can do, find around something that is that was just coming out in the theaters when everything was locked down, and make a selection of these films that they are not new, but maybe few people has already watched them, and try to put together a good program, something that is exciting, that you have to go out your house to pay a ticket to sit there. Anyway, you know, a lot of things, of course, you can have stay in home, as we said, with Netflix or whatever. There are thousands of films that you can watch it. But
it's a beautiful challenge, and I'm glad you and as the Tuscan region and the city of Florence are taking up on this challenge, because what Alfo was saying regarding the communal experience of enjoying films together and of enjoying quality films together, you know, the documentaries, but also feature films, art films, foreign films, you know, these are the ones that are more in danger. And maybe program-wise, the fact that the normal productions have been delayed or postponed, will encourage also viewers to start exploring other world that they're not that known to them, like documentaries, art films, foreign films, hopefully foreign films with in the original sound with subtitles. That would be great too.
Yeah, you know that we are just
yes.
programming in original language here in our theater. And another thing is the possibility to have as a Cinetek, but also not only our Cinetek. As you know, in Bologna, for example, we have La Cineteca di Bologna. They are used to organize during summer a wonderful opportunity that is named Cinema Ritrovato. And they work on their archives. And so they have wonderful selection of beauty from the past. And this is something that, of course, is not for everybody, but it's so wonderful. And
it
so
is.
What we are trying to find is a balance between the new things, the new release, and the old beauty that maybe if you are young enough, you have never watched on the huge screen, on whatever, these kind of things. And so it's challenging to do this. And I think would be a good teaser for people to leave their sofa and come out again, buy an ice cream, sit outside with other people, I mean, again. And so what we think that these summer months could be very useful from this point of view to get people used again to come to cinema theater. I know that it's not
the arene are gonna be the key. I love the idea that
sort of a bridge.
movie theaters are gonna be rescued by outdoor theaters. I love it. I love it. And these, to me, is a very exciting note. I wanted to move on to your other hat, to your other role. And I know the students also have a few questions for you about this. So you're also director of the Toscana Film Commission. So what happens when somebody wants to make a movie in Tuscany? They come to you, and what happens then? Do you evaluate the subjects? Do they come with a script? Do they pitch it to you to convince you to help them? What about if they need to run a race car in the center of Florence or ask you for other weird things? So how does it happen?
The very first thing is that we are in each region, you can find a film commission. So talking of us, we are here for welcome all the different production from all over the world and from Italy, not evaluating them if they are good, so-and-so, terrible or whatever. We are here just to help, to make easy for them to find their location and the way to set up the production here in Tuscany and Florence. It's different if they want to apply at one of our calls, because sometimes you can apply and ask for money to help yourself, your production, to save, I mean, some expensive to reach, and we do have funds for this from a national level and from a regional level. In this case, we do have to go through the script to make up our mind about the value of this product. As you can imagine, we are all public, so we spend public money. So they have to answer to reach a good level. Of course, we go through, as you said, the story, the author, the director, these kind of things.
So, Stefania, but this is only if they ask for a contributo, for a contribution from the region. There are regional contributions to support cinema made in Tuscany. But if they don't, then you basically provide them all their services. So not only the permissions to shoot, but also services to the industry, right?
Services, yeah, exactly. We do have a database of human resources. We do have a database of specialized services. I mean, we try, it's on our duty to help them to find what they may need.
Stefania, now I'm going to go personal, and then I'm going to give the microphone to my students. No, I want to go personal and ask you, what is the most memorable, beautiful experience that you had interacting with a director or a producer or an author on the set? Which is the most memorable experience for you personally? So I'm not asking you to provide a value judgment about, what is the best film ever made while you were director of the Toscana Film Commission, but from your own personal standpoint, which one?
From a point of view of human relations, of new things that we learned, is a film with Spike Lee many, many years ago. The film wasn't a successful one. Let me say, probably is one of the less successful by Spike Lee, but it was so exciting, so interesting to know him, to discuss with him about our history, because as you may know, I'm talking about Sant'Anna di Stazza, Miracle at
Sant'Anna, I think it was called in English. Yeah.
It was difficult and challenging because he tried to go through a very Tuscan story, and maybe he has not the sensibility to go so deeply inside this kind of story. But the man is a great person, and we still here because it was 2008. And they all the troop and whatever, they stayed here for 2 or 3 months, pre-production, the production, and something of the post. And so we have had the chance to know him, to make in a certain way a friendship, if I can say so.
And I love this answer. And despite the fact that it has been criticized for many reasons, I think it's still a film that my students should watch. Miracle at Sant'Anna by Spike Lee, that I remind everybody is also a graduate of New York University Tisch School of the Arts, and is currently also a professor in the same school. And on these notes, I wanted to open up to Soraya, Mike, and Alfo if they have questions for you regarding your role as director of the Tuscan Film Commission. Soraya, do you want to go first? Soraya is reaching us from Washington, D.C. Soraya.
I guess my question is, how do you mitigate between Italian directors who kind of have more of an understanding of the region and foreign directors who are coming in and they have this one idea of what they need to film in Florence, and how do you guide them to different locations that would suit their needs better?
So this is an interesting question. Thank you. Because the first things that we have to do is maybe we receive the mail or a phone call. They send us a brief idea of what they are going to look for and what is going to be their history. And so we go through this script and we try to make for them the best selection that we can do of places and locations. They are perfectly good for their history. And this is one aspect of our job that is very fascinating. And we do also have good numbers of location managers that they are very good, because Tuscany, of course, are not the United States, but as you can imagine, we have hundreds of very little places, of villages, of wonderful place with hills, with exactly that kind of place that maybe is the perfect one for you. And so this kind of preparation is very, give us a lot of satisfaction, because when we send them in a certain way a book of location with our suggestion, with our ideas, and they call us back and they say, this is perfect, this is working very well for my idea, is so good for us. As you can imagine, if you don't live in a region, it's not so easy for you to know what we can have to present you, to give you as suggestions, as ideas, because we have cities very famous all over the world, places like the Tower of Pisa that everybody knows, the Duomo, the Cathedral, the Old Bridge. I mean, a lot of people, they know what we are talking about, but there are a lot of things not so well known. For example, we worked for Matteo Garrone for Tale of Tales, Il racconto dei racconti in Italian, and they need very special location. For example, a castle where there is one of these queen, an eclectic one. I think is the only one in all Italy, is Castello di San Mezzano. That is a crazy place. You can't believe it is in Tuscany, because it's something that is more Indian for a certain way, it's very oriental, full of colors, full of mirrors, full of mosaic. I mean, you can imagine as soon
it's between the Taj Mahal and Alhambra in Granada, right? It's Moresque.
Exactly.
It's Indian.
Usually what we have is something like Villa La Pietra that you can look at here behind the shoulder of Stefano. And so I think that is a great chance for us when we are asked to find a brilliant solution, not very easy one. Of course, if people is coming here and they ask us, let me have a Renaissance building, let me have a beautiful hill, a sweet, mild landscape. We do have zillions of this solution, but it's very challenging when we have to come out with something that is surprising us as well as the authors.
It's wonderful to see how excited you still get. You've been doing this job for how long, Stefan? You basically were the founder of the Cineteca, and you're still excited, and that shows, and that's great.
I still love my job, that's true.
Mike Parola, who is joining us from Scranton, Pennsylvania, virtually in Florence as well. Mike, do you have a question for Dr. Ippoliti?
Yeah, actually, something that was just brought up kind of leads into it. So I was wondering if the advice you give for films, like, if was dependent a lot on the genre, because I was thinking, like, say horror films need very different kinds of locations and kinds of input than a war thriller.
For us, it's very important to have people that is clever enough to go through the script and to pick up the key points, just to give the right, the right direction to the research of the right site. And it's not so easy because, as you can imagine, we receive we are lucky because we are Tuscany, we are quite famous all over the world and Italy as well. But we received a lot of scripts and they are different one from the other. And we are not so many people working for this. And so you need to be passionate to this, just to try to make it in the better way. But the secret is this: to go through the script, very concentrate on these things, find out the key points, and then start to make a selection of location, of places. And you can also, you have also to keep in mind the different genre, as you said, because of course, if we have audiovisual production, and so TV series on TV format or commercial, because we work for commercial as well, we have to work in the different way, because sometimes they are in a hurry, they have just few days, you have to be very quick to give your answer, and you have to find very easy solution because they don't have so much time. And so every story is a different story because it depends also from the budget, as you can imagine, depends from a lot of different things. And if you are a good film commissioner, you have to put all these things together, make a shake, and find out the proper solution in a certain way is, as you say, tailored on the project. This is the point.
I have a question for you, Stefania. We've watched a movie. The first movie we've watched for this course is One Rose Boccaccio by the Taviani brothers. I'm imagining that you were probably somewhat involved in that project. Maybe you could give us some insights, maybe some fun anecdotes, or even your opinion on the movie overall. I was surprised that Florence is barely on the film.
What they like us to find for them is a place with a certain kind of colors, because as you may remember also the cut of the lights of the photo, the colors are all like during the Manierismo with a lot of light, pale blue, pink, these kind of pastels colors. And this was a director's idea, very precise from the two brothers. And we were very excited to have two legends here. They were also a sort of a strange couple because they were always fighting one with the other. One say black and the other one say white, but they are very close and they are very nice persons. But they are really a blended of talent, different taste, different point of view, and it's quite surprising that they always came out with the beautiful things where you can't, feel for different hands. Is what I'm trying to say. My English, sorry, I apologize, but that then the product is perfect.
And I would like to remind my students of at least another Tuscan movie by the Taviani brothers. There is La Notte di San Lorenzo, Night of the Shooting Stars. Beautiful film about the resistance in World War II in Tuscany. Again, going back to a topic that is very close and very central in the programming of the Cineteca. And Stefania also mentioned the costumes and the incredible attention to details in costumes in this film. This leads me to my last question. What you're doing with the Cineteca is not only to provide locations, but also to try to support the film industry in Tuscany with some very specific professional aspects related to the film industry, and in particular costume design and costume making. Florence is close to one of the most important textile districts in Italy, Prato, the city of Prato. And one of the last things I followed was seminars and courses for designers. Why don't you tell us about that aspect? That is a sort of an educational, professional aspect of the film commission.
Yeah, it is a new idea because we are trying to put in a sort of a basket of tools that Tuscany Film Commission has, something that is different from all the other film commission in Italy, because we are not the most rich. We don't have so many funds to give to the production, but we think that, and so this is the reason, because we think that we have to find our way and try to be smart. What we have that is valuable, we do have something very ancient capacity, artisan, craft, and whatever. One is in a textile and a costume, and so we decide to open a place in Prato where there are a lot of firms that they manufacturers, fabrics. And people of cinema from all over the world, they are used to come in Prato with their costume designer to find the right fabrics to have their costumes done. For example, Game of Thrones, they came in Prato for all the different series and edition, buying their fabrics in Prato. Could you imagine? And so we were wondering, why don't we try to give them the possibility not only to buy the fabrics, but to have also the costumes done. And our model was to try to open up a laboratory that is a sort of bottega. Bottega is a way to teach an art, mestiere, I mean, something that we do with your hands from the Renaissance. So you have a teacher, a very honorable, master in a certain way, and young people that they already know something, but they learn a lot of things, wonderful things, working with the master.
Who were your master teachers, Stefania, in this enterprise? Pretty impressive people, right?
We have had for the Medici, Alessandro Lai, that is a very famous and renowned one. The master that we do have now, that we have had to interrupt for the lockdown, is named La Stoffa dei Sogni, the fabric of dreams. And we have had three very famous teachers. One is Alessandro Lai, the second is Gabriella Pescucci, and she is an Oscar awarded costume designer, and then Carlo Poggioli, that is another very famous one. We have had 22 students, or apprendisti, let's say,
yeah.
apprentice. And it's wonderful because we try to help them to go through the story, because what this master teach them is that they have to be very accurate about the historical period. They have to know. Maybe then they can decide to do something that is completely different or whatever. But they have to know the real story. So it's interesting to see the process, and at the end what you have done with your hands, and also with the things that you learned from these wonderful masters.
Stefania, well, we had a very exciting conversation thanks to you. Thank you again for being with us, and thanks to Alfo Gonzalez Aguado, Soraya Ali, and Mike Parola, and to Julian Sachs, who is sort of conducting the technical aspects of this broadcast. It was great having you, even if only virtually. I hope to be back in Florence and see you face to face and engage in more ideas and projects with you. And it's all the time we have for today. And I just want to ask our viewers to tune back in next Wednesday, same time, 5 p.m. in New York, le 11 in Italia. Grazie mille a Stefania Ippoliti, Director of the Mediateca Toscana and of the Tuscan Film Commission.
Thank you. We wait for you in Tuscany.
Grazie.